Me and this dude talk about that all the time.
You gotta have one.
Dude, you have to. And I'm curious to kind of hear what you guys are thinking on that, because like right now with everything going on in society, I mean, dude, last night I was looking up, this dude's like, oh, you need a sat phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. Started looking up sat phones on eBay. And then I hearted one that was like, fairly cheap, that I'm like, okay, this looks cool. I seen in the movies, they pull them out, right?
Exactly.
I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then I look it up like, okay, is this sat phone good if we get hit with an EMP or something?
Exactly.
And they're like, yeah, no, it's no good. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm trying to go get.
Well, the reason why I brought that up was because not too long ago, a couple months ago, all the politicians ended up getting sat phones. And so it raised a lot of questions, like, why is the government preparing for sat phones?
Why do you need one?
Yeah, why do you need one? Yeah. Why aren't you giving the citizens some sat phones? At least one per household or something, so we can communicate and get whatever. Now, it raises some questions. They know something we don't.
Exactly. And then there was like a Netflix, I don't want to call it a special, but maybe a movie that came out. I forget what the name was.
Leave the world behind.
Yeah, but the Obamas had something.
Yes,
do
I was about to talk about that on this podcast. Yeah, I just saw that movie yesterday, and there is a lot of truth to that movie.
Exactly,
there is too much truth to that movie. Exactly. It's like someone's trying to send us a message.
I was just telling somebody,
what is it?
They're gonna take that movie.
That's
down.
the movie I was telling you to watch. It's about there's this a crisis, right, and it all starts with. This family, and they're going on vacation, right? So they leave the city, they're going out into the countryside, huge, gorgeous house, right? All right, cool. Well, then on the way there, the internet stops working, right? And I've always said this: if the internet stops working, we got a problem. Yep. Okay.
And sorry, it's just the Wi-Fi. Someone unplugged the Wi-Fi.
Dude, that's happened at my house, and I'm just like, "Is today the day?" And I run down to the router, and it's like, "Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Open the door."
Yeah, reboot it. It's fine. It's fine.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, thankfully. Anyways. And then the internet goes down, and then there starts having blackouts. Right now, the cell phones start going out. Now, no one can communicate. Right, that's step one.
Oh, snap.
Right. So there's confusion. Nobody knows what's happening, and then you have on one side of the coast, there's these red pamphlets getting dropped by, right, and they're like in Korean or Chinese, and then in another side of the country, there's other pamphlets that are in like Aramaic, right, and so they're all like "Death to America," whatever, and so now there's confusion. Are we being attacked by all these people, or is it just one nation?
Exactly.
Who's coming after us, right? Then that's phase 2, right? And so phase 3 is we destroy each other, right? Because we're no longer working together, right?
Yo.
And that's the whole point behind the compound. That's another point, like behind like the brotherhood, is having these 3 a.m. friends, right? Because we're just like, hey, we can depend on each other. We're gonna help each other out when things go south. Like we got each other's back, right? When you don't have someone like that, when you don't have a group of people, like, people are going to turn on each other. Why? Because they're scared. People make bad decisions. And they start to look out for themselves or their own, right? It's no longer the community.
Damn.
The movie's good, man.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Oh, you did see it too.
Dude, the movie.
Have you all seen it?
No, I only saw the trailer for it, and I remember watching it, and I'm just like, this is exactly what could happen. And the first thing you think about is when technology like the internet goes down. Yeah. Just think of that alone. Well, how that can change anybody. Or
It's
people
huge.
will be dying. You know? Just from the internet.
Kids are so dependent on it now. It's gonna be tough.
I've had this conversation. What you would do if there was no technology, electricity? Are you able to survive? Because you guys are talking about bunkers. I always think, am I able to start a fire? Am I able to jumpstart a car that's here? Am I able to build something or even build a car and get it to run? Otherwise,
at that point, it'd be Flintstones, bro.
Yep.
No, exactly.
Break.
But I feel like not many are capable of surviving, or who's actually gone camping and been able to do things without electricity.
It's
a big factor.
We're so dependent on it. We are so dependent on it, right? Yeah. Like there was a they did a study way back in the day where it was like the stress of losing your phone, like when you don't know where it's at, like you feel like you lost it, is equivalent to someone like a mother losing her baby. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, it is wild.
Like when you find it, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Precious.
It is scary though, but like I've dropped my phone and I've broken it, right? And so I'm out of a phone for 2-3 days or what have you. And for those 2 or 3 days, I am like, I can't pay my bills. I can't check my bank account. I can't. There's so many things that you use your phone for that you don't realize until you don't have it. At least for me, you know what I mean. And so, yeah, it's wild. Like trying to get a hold of your wife or your kids, for you, and it's a different world, when you're so dependent on something and then it disappears and you're like, crap, what do I do now?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm very not connected to my phone as much as I was in the past. And even today, I don't know if you remember, once we got out of the doors from Dunkin' Donuts, we opened the door, my phone fell, like flat. And you're like, was that you? And I'm like, yeah, and just grabbed it, didn't look at it, just put it back in my pocket. Maybe it's broken, but I don't think it is,
That's a tomorrow problem.
But we have that fear of it breaking, kind of like you said, not being able to contact people. And I was just having this conversation 20 years ago. That wasn't a worry of ours. That wasn't a concern of ours. That was people still survived without any of that.
Yeah. So how do we fill our time 20 years ago? I was like, I was 13. Video games.
I mean, that was a part of it. And then you don't realize how much you actually interacted with people back then.
Yeah,
how much that
absolutely.
takes time,
Yeah.
or how much time that takes up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is a different generation, for sure. Like, you don't see as many kids playing outside.
Playgrounds and all that stuff.
Playgrounds are empty now. Yeah, that's a trip, man. Because we live right by a playground. We live right by a school. And I remember growing up when we moved here from Chicago to the suburbs, always kids playing. You could play pickup basketball damn near any time of the day over summer. There's always someone shooting. There's always someone playing. Nowadays, I drive by and there's nobody there.
Exactly.
Like, every now and then, and it's really the only people I see there now are like parents with like newborn kids, or like it's their first kid and they want to
stroller.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't see like
Toddlers,
preteens, like you know
Sure.
what I mean, shooting hoops anymore, practicing like that. It was just a different. It's just a different generation.
Yeah.
Different
And that's
generation.
really the parents' fault. I have to say.
Yeah.
It's really the parents' fault.
Yeah.
Because you can instill that in your child, you know what I mean? I mean, sure, once they get, teenage years and make their own decisions or whatever, but if they're like 10, 11, preteens, like if you took your kid to the park a lot during a small child pretty steadily, they'll probably continue wanting to go to the park.
Yeah. See.
Most of the time, right? Not always, but most of the time.
Yeah, but if you go back to what we were just talking about with the bunker situation,
Right.
like, how do you prepare? Like, and this is where I find myself with the challenge of prepare, get ready, start looking at a bunker, some land, but then not living in fear and trying to live. You know what I mean? Like it's
Where do you draw the line? How do you do a balance?
Exactly. Like,
For me, I mean, it starts way before thinking about the bunker. Like for me, it's you have that fear of not having technology, the fear of contacting people. How do you eliminate that? Because, for example, must have been a month ago, I was just going to the gas station. I had to fill up before work, but I wanted to do it before I actually got ready for work. I left, and the first thing I did was reach for my phone, and it wasn't there. And there was this instant panic, right? And I'm like, should I go back? But no, I'm just going to the gas station. And I had to really convince myself, okay, it's going to be about 4 minutes there and back, or maybe 5. And I thought, what can really go on in those 3 minutes? 99% of the time, nothing's going to happen. So that's how I see things. It's like we're always going to have this fear of not having the ability to communicate with somebody or to look up something on our phone in an emergency. How do you get rid of that fear before looking for a bunker? You know what I mean? Like there's always that, if you have a bunker, you're still going to have that fear, right? Of, I still can't communicate with somebody. So it's, how are you going to be capable without the technology?
like there's more to the bunker than just the bunker. Like let's say we had the bunker right now. Like, okay, cool, I got a bunker. Now what?
If you're a scared individual, I think is what you're trying to say, then you're always going to be scared.
Yeah. But I think,
And I think that what we have to do is not make fear-based decisions, right? Like having a bunker, it's cool. It's very fun. It could be your man cave, right? And it also has a second purpose, what have you, right? Whatever you want to do with it, it's yours. But there is a certain rest of mind, or how do you call that? Ease of mind?
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind, thank you. There's a certain peace of mind knowing that you have the ability to, so you have somewhere safe to put your family in for X amount of time, while the immediate, terrible situation, dies down. Right?
That's why I've been working on the reputation of, hey, don't mess with that guy. He's crazy. Type deal already.
Yeah.
That way people don't have to, worry about coming over my house when stuff actually goes down because, oh, he has guns. Absolutely.
Very well.
Very well.
Can I borrow a cup of sugar?
Get behind me, Satan. I'm telling you. Man.
But I think the way we started this conversation is totally in line with what I was hoping to talk about and discuss with you guys. So I'm reading this book called Wild at Heart. Great book. It's about restoring the soul of a man. Biblically based, right? And John Eldridge, the author, talks about 3 things that men actually need. And I've been diving into this book. Like, it's the Bible and this book are the ones I've been really like diving into, like taking, being on top of my notes and stuff. So he says 3 things that we need. Here, in the heart of every man is a desperate desire for 1, a battle to fight, 2, an adventure to live in, and 3, a beauty to rescue.
It's very interesting.
So a battle to fight, an adventure to live in, and a beauty to rescue. Now, talking about the bunker, I think that for me that aligns a lot with the adventure to live in. Jason and I were briefly having a conversation. So just to quickly touch on it, a battle to fight. You need like something to like a bigger cause.
You need a mission.
A mission, yeah.
Yeah.
Like we want to fight something big, right? I think men we're just, as little boys, we want to wrestle, we want to fight, we want, you know what I mean? Karate, martial arts, all these things are like totally ingrained in us since we were kids. An adventure to live. We want it to be outside. And really the adventure part is risk. We want to do things that are risky, that are dangerous, right? Like we feel alive if there's a risk involved.
Yeah.
So to go back to a battle to fight, I feel like, at least for me, walking in life, if I don't have something like that I can look forward to, it's like, man, this time is like a lull, right? I need purpose.
Yeah.
So even if it's just around the
100%.
house, like, the faucet is leaking, but got it.
I shall slay thee.
Exactly. One of those kind of deals. But when I don't have something going on, it's like, man, what do I do?
Yeah.
And then you just start getting into the idle time passwords and such. And, yeah.
You'll fill that time up with something.
Yeah.
And that's why the battle to fight has been always my biggest struggle. Or maybe not even a struggle, but it's always been my focal point in things. Like it was easy in law enforcement or military. There's the enemy that you have to paint.
Yeah.
Whether that be, an actual bad guy at the moment, or it's this whole saga of the good guys versus bad guys. Like we all want to play that, right?
Yeah.
Like how many times did we play cowboys and Indians and cops and robbers as kids?
Yeah.
And it was like that's your friend, but now he's a robber in this game. It's like
Going to jail.
You're going to jail, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
And
No,
it
that's
becomes
legit.
worse. It's so much more engaging when you say that. It's not just
Exactly.
tag. It's cops and robbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. We need a purpose, right? We need a reason to live. We need morals. That's the reason why we have people are find the idea of honor so alluring, right? So attractive because you have things to stand up for. You have things to stand up against, right? You have a mission in life, right? You will uphold whatever these morals, these laws, right? Because you're an honorable individual. And then your second topic was
An adventure to live.
an adventure to live, and it leads
That risk.
that mission, that life mission, that honor-based system that you live your life by will lead you into your adventure, right? Because like I said, you have things to stand up for, you have things to stand up against, right? And so you can live your life that way, and that mind thought process will turn into actions. and those actions will lead you down whatever course of life that is, and you will eventually find a damsel in distress, or you will find a beauty to save, or your children that they need saving, that they need help,
protecting,
that they need protecting, you know, whatever that looks like in your life. And so I think a bunker actually plays into all three of those.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
Which, just tidbit, Zuckerberg, right, the owner of Facebook, he's making a ginormous bunker. That was on the news about a day or two ago.
Does it kind of defeat the purpose of a bunker if everybody knows that you're building a bunker?
Oh, dude, this thing is... I forgot how many stories under the ground it is. Like, there's...
Stories? Multiple stories?
Stories under the ground.
Oh, snap.
Like, this is going to house, like, a lot of people very comfortably. Yeah.
So he's already planning the power outage, man.
Yeah, he is. It's literally a switch. It's like Facebook on, everything else off.
Exactly.
The next, and that movie that we were talking about, Leave the World Behind, what the actual problem is a cyber attack that was hitting the power plants and ruined the satellites. It wasn't even an EMP, it was a cyber attack. So the tech was all there, and it still could be reused if it was reprogrammed, or, you know, however technology works, I don't even know.
Yeah.
But it was either turned off or it was used to create more chaos, like the Tesla cars, right? Because they're self-driving.
Yeah.
So during the cyber attack, whoever was the hacker reprogrammed the coding for the self-driving mechanism and all that, the servos and whatever, just to crash into other cars and plug up the roads. So the grid would be locked up, so you can't drive anywhere. You're landlocked into wherever you're at, unless you walk on your own 2 feet, of course.
Yeah. So in the trailer, that was one of the craziest scenes towards the end of the trailer. I don't know. It's Julia Roberts, right? There's someone else, and they get into a gasoline-powered car, and they're like, "We gotta go!" And then you see the Tesla's parked, and then as she's driving away, you see the other Teslas coming towards her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Wow, this is amazing."
Yeah.
And they had a scene like that in one of the Fast and Furiouses. Cars were coming out of the parking garage because they were able to get into its ECU or electronic control unit or whatever it is. Because there's still computers in our cars, even if they are gas powered.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yeah, especially
ways.
nowadays, like computers are all over our cars.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna have a completely carburetor, completely mechanical vehicle unless you get a classic 1967 or below.
Well, that's what I was asking. I was like, all right, how about my Maserati? My 2007 Maserati.
Oh, yeah.
Minimal. I'm good, right? I'm good. The Maserati is fine, right? He's like, no, there's a computer in there.
There's at least 3 computers that run your fuel, the way that the timing and
exactly.
The Maserati.
Yeah.
I mean, they can cut your fuel and the way the fuel gets into the cylinders, and that alone, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
man.
But it won't control like where it goes, you know?
Yeah, right.
Unless you have a Tesla.
Oh man. So I heard something not that long ago that it was interesting, and I want your guys' thoughts on it. So the things that you continue to encounter over and over again, so those problems tend to be the things that you were called to go about solving.
Ooh, yes.
You know.
Yes.
So what do you guys think about that? So if
Hundo.
you know, if
100%, bro, that's it.
If I was a porn addict in the past or whatever, you know.
Which I'm not anymore.
Yeah, I've been delivered. Nah, but say I was a porn addict, right? And in a group of men or otherwise, I have the story that I was able to overcome this. Mm-hmm. I go into the group of men that are going about trying to overcome this thing. It's like, man, I keep slipping back, you know. But this is how I did it. You know, you give them steps that actually could eventually lead to them, you know, overcoming this addiction, if you will.
Yeah.
So that kind of deal, you know, you were the solution to their problem potentially.
100%. I believe that.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that. Yeah. Because who better to... I mean, okay. Isn't that why Jesus came, right? To be a man and go through life as a man and then eventually save us?
Yeah, and he's a perfect example, right? So he was tempted with every other temptation that we've ever had, right? Every single one. He was tempted with money. He was tempted with, honor. He was tempted with fame, right? That's here on earth. And I'm sure he was tempted by women too, right? Because he was a man just like all of us. He grew up, in the mornings when he was a kid and his pecker was up, right? It was. Yeah. He was. If he was a man, that's how it works. You wake up and you're ready to go.
What is this?
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, he had every temptation that we would have ever gone through, and he overcame. Right. So he's the perfect lamb.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how he came the first time. When he comes back, he's going to be in his warrior face. He's going to come in glory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to answer, to continue back, it's you, and that's it, right? Like the problems that you're struggling with, when you're able to get out of it, which I pray that, whatever struggles we're each going through, when you're able to get out of it, who better to teach somebody else or to speak on that topic or subject than someone who has been in it, who's been in that darkness, who's touched that darkness and gotten out of it?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of men that are in the dark right now, who are hurting from porn, gambling,
addiction,
like gluttony, whatever, right? Right. So these self-glorifying things, and to them, it's like these short-term feel-good things, and then later on they realize, man, this is not enough.
Yeah,
like this is I'm getting actually, and I've said this multiple times on the show. Like it's like being thirsty, and instead of drinking water, I'm eating salty French fries. I just continue to dig myself into a deeper and deeper hole. For me, it was like success. It was this pedestal of being an entrepreneur and having success, and really power was what my craving was, right? And when you struggle with these things, you're able to speak from a real point of view. Because like we said a couple weeks ago, if you're just reading a book and you're just studying it, yet you've never done it, it's just theory to you.
Yeah.
I think it works. That's what the book says. That's what other people say. I think it works. So you will never be able to speak from a real place of genuine authority and power if you've never been through it.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so... Part of the reason that I related with each of you, and especially you two, since we serve on the same team, from the very first interaction that I had with you guys, I felt like, excuse my French, but these guys have been through some shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I'm like, it's almost like because I've been there, I can also see it in you guys. And then when we finally talked about it, I was right. I was right,
man.
Do you remember when we first met?
Yeah.
Remember that day?
Yeah.
I was actually working security. I know all you guys work security.
Yeah.
Man.
And
tell them about it, man. Tell them about it real quick.
So you're saying that Angela just has an affinity for people that work security?
Probably.
Recognizes
He's
his own.
recruiting.
Hey, boy, are you a security officer?
It was very weird.
So you like to protect people?
I remember. So I used to work at this place called Mickey Finn's in Libertyville, and I was working security. I was working the back door, and just randomly, you came up, and I don't know what was said, or maybe I just said hello or how's it going.
Yeah. You said what's up.
I said what's up, and then you said something like, "Oh, you're in good shape." I was like, "No, man, what are you talking about? Look at you."
Yeah.
And that was the conversation. You went to the bathroom, then you came out and we started talking.
Yeah.
How long was he in there?
Who's the number one or number two?
Angela,
Push it
to you.
At a bar. Ew.
Man.
And he came out and we just started talking. I must have asked like, what industry is he in or what does he do? And he got into health and fitness and the industry and supplements. And once I heard supplements, I was like, hey, whatever you're doing in supplements, I'm in. Just get me in.
That's true story though. That's
I'll
what he said.
help you with the research because a dream a while back was working for supplements and in a company called Optimum Nutrition, which is still pretty big.
Yeah.
And my goal was to work in some type of development of the supplement or any type of anything in the supply chain just to get into supplements because that's me. I'm a chemist. I have my degree in chemistry and biology. So back to Angelo, I was just like, something about this guy, I want to work with him to improve whatever it is he's doing. And it happened to be health, wellness, and fitness and supplementation. And
That's badass.
it's very rare to just meet somebody and have so many interests that are very much alike, and even goals. So
I think that also that plays into it. I don't know, man. Like you just connect when you've been through some crap and you've seen some crap. You realize that all the crap we worry about isn't anything.
No,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like, dude, and you just kind of have a more laid back demeanor. I feel, and that's what like attracted me to each one of you. Like you guys were like real men. And one of the things that we said when we first spoke, you're like, we don't have to. I feel like I don't have to put a mask in front of you. I don't got to be the overly like anything. I don't got to be anything that I'm not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So back to being a chemist. Does that mean that you can create devices that take potential energy and turn it rapidly into kinetic energy?
Just give me a little bit of time. I mean, we can go back to how technology was eliminated by the government for society for their use, and it's still going on.
Well,
plans coming together.
Bunker check.
Let me tell you the coolest part of technology that I heard about. So, do you know what cloud seeding is?
No idea.
So cloud seeding in Dubai, they basically put certain chemicals in. This is the United Arab Emirates, but Dubai mainly.
Oh, to make it rain?
To make it rain.
Yeah.
Right?
What? I hear about that. Yes.
Oh, that's an old thing. Farmers use it for their crops.
To make it rain?
Yes. They shoot carbon dioxide into
carbon,
the air.
The air. Yes,
and it creates moisture, right? And then all the moisture turns it obviously into a cloud, and then rain.
So it rains there, right?
Dang.
You're changing the weather, and that's fine.
That's what I'm. Yeah, like you're changing the weather, huh?
So there are articles about the Vietnam War where
Agent Orange.
What's it called?
Agent Orange? Is that what you're going to talk about?
I have no clue what it's called.
Oh, well, never mind.
I do know that they created a fog to kind of have against the enemy so they can attack. So
an artificial fog?
Not artificial. It's the same way. I guess it's artificial. Yeah.
They changed the moisture content in the air and the pressure.
So the U.S. troops would
so
be
that
in
there
fog.
is a fog, so that they can come under the cover of fog.
Oh,
yeah.
And this was what year? What, the 70s? Sorry, I don't know years in terms of wars.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But that's old technology.
Yes, I
changing
agree.
weather.
Yeah.
Flash forward, 50 years?
What can they do now?
What can they do now?
Yeah.
There's a lot going on about weather and time right now.
Me and Brian are like, yo, what the fuck?
Just so everybody knows, I have like a giant tinfoil hat. All right, I don't wear it, but it's humongous. All right,
just in case.
Like
it wouldn't fit on camera, guys.
Yeah, I had to leave it at home. Yeah,
we've told them plenty of times, do not bring it. Do not bring it.
There's actually this talk, since you brought up that war, about these lenses that supposedly you can see spirits through, right? Mm-hmm. And that they had to stop using them because the soldiers were reporting that they would see demons and see things of that nature. Yeah. And I forgot what the name of the lenses were, but they were the primitive version of infrared.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Man.
What?
Well, you got to realize that what we see is only based on a small
spectrum,
a very small spectrum of different wavelengths.
Yeah.
You know, so
if we were like Superman, we could see X-rays, we could see microwaves, we could see.
Yeah, they have the tech for that.
You know.
There's just a lot.
With the naked eye.
We only go based on like our naked eye. We only go based on what we see, not even what we hear. Sometimes we don't.
Well, I mean, it just goes to a testament to, I mean, I love this conversation and where it's going, but I want to take a minute to brag on you a little bit because, you know, the people that may have not seen you on previous podcasts or, you know, all our stuff that we did in the past, they don't know a whole lot about Jason. And one of the things that I brag about Jason is he is smart AF. Mm-hmm. This dude created a plastic that was being used for like a petri dish, right? For COVID.
So, yeah, I mean,
but you didn't get the credit for it because the guy kind of screwed you over, some stuff like that.
It's not only that. So, let me
Excuse me.
Go back to college. I was doing a research project with a bunch of other students, and it was the creation of something new. And for me, it was a type of plastic. It was a polymer plastic.
What's it called again? He made me write it down once. I was like, bro, how many letters is this?
So the chemical compound in the nomenclature is 2,4,6-trimethoxybenzaldehyde. It's a polymer plastic. So it took me hours, you know, just with the physical procedure. And the stirring part, I stirred by hand, and it took me a good hour and 10 minutes of stirring, anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour, and it solidified. So the master's student had to replicate it before I put out the research and get the paper published. He stirred for 10 minutes. I'll give him 20 minutes, and he's like, there's nothing here. And his name was Jason, by the way. And then I'm like, in my head, I was like, he just got to stir more, and I didn't speak up about it, and that's fine. And I remember other people got their papers published, and I had this long 40-page write-up of everything that happened. And I was pretty bummed about it because I didn't have a publication. But fast forward 20 years later, 20 years? Maybe a little less than 20 years later, I looked it up, and I see, it's a polymer plastic for DNA probing. And they did use it for some COVID testing. And I was like, shit, man.
That was it.
But you know what?
That was it. That was it. Yeah.
I was past that point of being angry. Like, that ended a while ago, and more now thinking, wow, it was very useful, and at least someone did it, and someone got to use what I created. I will say that I created
That's
it
a chip,
first.
right?
Man, it was Jason.
It was Jason. It was Jason.
He just kept
Forget
stirring
you,
a little bit
Jason.
longer.
It was
Exactly.
Jason.
Jason number 2.
Yeah,
Jason
exactly.
number 2 messed up Jason number 1. But it's funny, right? Like we think about like, okay, we kind of we tie it back into what are some stuff that we struggled with in the past, and how is it going to be useful now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then these dudes like, oh man, that's exactly what I needed. I need a trimix up pethylfied.
I needed a chemist. We needed a chemist in the group. Welcome.
We need to make it rain. We need to,
Man.
Yes.
Yeah, but as I got older, so that's the thing. Like, any kid would be mad about that, right? And like have that carry
course.
with him, his whole life, and have that be the story of this is what I did and this is what I'm proud of, even though I didn't get credit. But it's nice to know that with wisdom, you learn that this was the greatest learning experience, to understand that
that's it.
anyone else can do it, anyone else can take credit for it, while still being proud that you were able to create it for yourself without me talking about it. When do I talk about it? When Angelo asked me. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
that's the
nice.
only time I actually talk about it.
I was like, bro, and this was like years into our friendship. I was like, you created that and you never told me? Like, what?
Now I got to look it up again.
No,
Man.
Have you ever
Cheers.
been motivated or had any sort of ambition to create something else?
I have, actually, it was really funny. I was looking at part-time jobs on top of what I do, and I was looking at lab jobs. I was like, maybe I'm in a lab doing something else. I'm just adding illegal chemicals here and there and create something. And
40 minutes.
Yeah.
40 minutes.
But yeah, nothing really chemically. I work with cars a lot, and I was talking to you about that. Maybe some type of fluid that will just be better than hydraulic, or something that will replace electric. So instead of going from hydraulic steering, it'll go to electric steering, which is what we have now in a lot of cars. Just going backwards to fluids again, because with technology, if it's electronic steering, someone can take control of that, right? That's what I think. If we can go backwards, I think that's something that I would love to be a part of. Just going back to analog, like everything's so digital now.
Yeah. That would be great. I actually am very interested in getting a classic style car that's just like straight carburetor, completely mechanical, whatnot. But they're so expensive now. You know what I mean?
They can be.
Yeah,
They
like
can
so
be.
if you get like a rust bucket, it's kind of cheap, but you have to put a ridiculous amount of time and money into it. And if you get something that's fairly nice, you're still spending around $100,000 or so.
Yeah, there's
Not to mention finding parts for it and maintaining
Exactly.
it,
and me and my friends, so a lot of us are car guys, and the car that I have, it's called the B5 S4. Everyone knows it as the B5. And it's funny, I was telling Angela, I do all my tuning stuff around here in Glenview. But what I'm getting at, people see this car, so it's a 6-speed manual stick shift car, all-wheel drive, and there's very little technology in it, and very little electronics in this old Audi. So people call it somewhat of an analog car. They're like, oh, it's pretty much a true analog car, because it's just one of those cars. And it feels so mechanical, and you feel every gear, and you feel the power. And me and my friend, my friend's got 3 of them. Like,
Wow.
it's just one of those cars that it's just so mechanical. I guess what I'm getting at is that ability to have something that's non-electronic, electrical, digital gives you a type of freedom from this world, you know?
Ooh,
even just working on
definitely.
cars gives you a freedom from this world.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like, that's our man cave, right? The garages that we work in.
You're a little bit more self-sufficient.
Absolutely.
You understand how it works. If
Yeah.
something happens, you can kind of fix it.
I feel that when I clean my guns.
It's essentially the same thing.
When I clean
see
my
that.
guns.
Because you're
It's like-
thinking about its function with what you're doing. You're
Yeah.
thinking about the improvement of
Yeah.
how things move. And you're
Which
also
I don't
learning.
have anymore, by the way. I don't know. I lost them a long time ago in a boating accident.
Same. It's crazy.
Which none of us have anymore. Gosh.
Yeah.
Anyways, when I used to clean my guns, I should say.
But it's the same thing, right? Like it's somewhat mechanical, and
Yeah.
you want to be able to have it in perfect working order. And you can't do that with electric cars. You take those in, and they have to do it for you. You know,
That's
they beep boop up.
Yeah,
whatever.
special programming.
yeah, that's interesting, man. Like you brought this question up a couple weeks ago on the podcast. You're like, what do you guys do to unwind?
Yeah.
And it was very like, oh, I journal. You know, I'll get my quiet time. I'll do that. But I just right now remembering part of my unwind is when I fix things or when I clean things. And it's almost like things that I've done so many times repetitively that I don't have to. There's not a whole lot of thought involved in it, and I just let my hands do the work, and my brain kind of just
Turns off.
turns off for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still working, but it's not like I need to think of anything right now. And it's in these moments where I have more clarity when I'm done.
Yeah.
I have a sense of peace. You know, and it's almost poetic when I'm like cleaning my gun, which is like a weapon of war, right? And but then I'm gaining so much peace from it.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I actually, like, when I'm stressed out, I will clean. I will clean the whole
Me
house.
too.
I will scrub every
Is that a
inch,
dude
every
thing?
corner.
Are
I don't
you guys
know.
like that too?
Yeah.
I'll start
Dude,
organizing
I don't know why.
things. I'll open my pantry door. I'm like, disgusting, and I'll start
Start
ordering
reorganizing.
organizers.
Yes.
I'll start
Chips.
ordering organizers on like Amazon, or I'll run to
I
Marshalls
thought I was
or
the
TJ
only
Maxx.
one.
Nah, man.
It looks
Definitely.
immaculate once I'm done,
Yeah.
and then
Oh, he
I
was
look back
pissed
at
today.
it, and then I sit down. I'm like, you know, and I just stare at it for a while. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
That
all
looks
right,
good.
the world,
Yeah.
everything's okay now.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything's fine.
That's so funny, man.
It's
You
a great
guys are
thing.
like that too,
I'm
huh?
like that, and it's a great thing when you become so meticulous and very almost OCD with what you're doing. You're like in a different headspace, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think just being in that space helps you unwind, number one, and it kind of brings out your natural tendencies to just do. You
Yeah.
know?
Ooh,
And
just
I
do.
have that
like
with cars. I have that with cleaning. I have that with even playing the piano, like, and music in general. That's the time when you're using. It's funny. Someone just said this. Didn't you say your hands were like God's gift? And I'm like, when did I say that? And then I realized I must have said that, and I've been told that before. And the reason why is I feel like God's given me hands to work on stuff, to build things, to play the piano so naturally, to do physical therapy so well, and massage, and just utilize it for things that almost come natural. And people are like, wow. And they talk about Jason and his hands, you know, and that was such a big thing. And this person had just mentioned it to me over text and made me stop and think, yeah, this was given to me, you know. Sometimes we think of God's gift, or people talk about God's gift as a talent or whatever, and someone mentioned or explained it to me as the things you had in your past carry over into the next life, and sometimes to the next, and these are what we call God's gifts. Like these young musical prodigies, right? We don't know why they are so good at what they do or why they create things so effortlessly. And then someone's like, oh, God gave you that before, and you used to do this, and it's just carryover, you know, and these things don't go away. It was just a good explanation of
That's good.
how things are.
Something's
for me.
brewing for Bryant over here. This dude
man.
he went Undertaker. He went straight, rolled his eyes back. Like, whoa, he's downloading something big right now.
Have you ever
man.
realized how some things, some people, and even in yourself, some things are just so natural?
Yeah,
And there's
yeah.
no training or anything involved.
Man, you know, because I forget what it was that I was watching, but there was this 2-year-old kid, and he's phenomenal with numbers. Like already doing like multiplication and whatnot with 4 or 5 digit numbers.
What?
It's ridiculous. It took him like 2 seconds to go about finding the answer and such. Like watching, it's like, dude. And I don't know if they have like, you know, a little clipboard like written, and because every time that they give him a number, like the numbers are already written on the board, and he'll turn 2 seconds later, and it's the correct answer. It's like, what the hell?
Dang.
You know, it is ridiculous. But the kid is 2. And, you know, all throughout the comments, people were saying, you know, he must have some form of autism or whatever, which is, you know, ridiculous. Maybe he does, but phenomenal. But these are the types of problems that maybe this dude is, you know, meant to go about solving. You know, so at this young age, he's already solving math problems that, you know, people struggle with. Like 5-digit number, multiplication. Dude, if I was put on the spot, it would probably take me like 2 minutes. You know, to
with
go
a
about finding the
calculator.
answer. Yeah,
With a calculator.
You know, 2 minutes.
Open my phone.
You know,
What's my password again?
exactly. But this kid was figuring it out within like 2 seconds.
That's wild.
So going back to, you know, your plastic polymer, I don't want to disrespect it by, you know, calling it something that it's not. But this was one of the problems that you were supposed to be solving. And 20 years later, you know, this thing is actually being put in use to go about, you know, observing the global pandemic that we had experienced. And of course, the credit was taken away from you by Jason.
The irony.
He's living life.
He's like,
Yeah, exactly. You know, you look back at all the notes and they were yours exactly. You know, he just changed the last word in your paper.
Just changed the last name.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, but this was one of those problems that you were supposed to be solving. And I think that was the adventure that he traveled, right? So all throughout life, I think that we are called to go about doing specific things in life, right? And then you meet specific people, so on and so forth. But you encounter these people, you know, that are supposed to be contributing to whatever it is that you're meant to solve, which is why we end up having, you know, this podcast.
Yeah.
Right. We have the goals that we are setting out to go about accomplishing, and having the like-minded people. It's like, okay, how can we go about doing these things? And then you start actually putting, you know, the pen to paper. It's like, okay, this is one of the battles that we want to go about fighting.
Yeah.
And then you start meeting people in those spaces, so on and so forth. You know,
Right.
So it just trickles out. But you know, that's exactly how most battles are won.
Right. But just because I want to piggyback off of that, it's so good. You got to win your own battle. You know, like if we each didn't win our individual battles, we wouldn't be sitting here at this table
Exactly.
together.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And we may still be going. We are all each going through a different battle right now.
Yeah.
But if we haven't won the previous ones, we wouldn't have the confidence to come up and sit at this table and be like, I can add value.
Yeah.
I can speak on something.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be.
Absolutely.
And we're each given some area of expertise, some battle we've previously fought and won, and now we come back and we share the loot and the knowledge and the information with everybody else.
And that's kind of where that beauty to go about rescuing comes in, right? Because I already have this experience, and now you're going through. It's like, oh, now you're the beauty that I'm supposed to be rescuing, type deal. You know what I mean? You know, but being able to use those life experiences, man, to go about helping out somebody else, it's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you go through life realizing that after the fact, when you do things like, oh, this was meant to be helping somebody, or this was meant to have this other person understand, and it's amazing how many times that happens and you don't realize what its purpose is while you're doing it.
That's the hardest part.
It is the hardest part.
I mean, we go back to a couple weeks ago, or even a couple podcasts ago, when Brian was talking about, you know, finding your daughter playing Pokemon at the train station, and then you end up lecturing this kid. So many people told me that was such an awesome story. My mom listened to that episode. She's like, "Bryant is so blessed." I forgot what you said, Mom. But you're gonna have to tell me again. But Bryant is spirit filled because of the way how he handled that situation. Now, in that situation, you know, you
I did listen to it. I even visualized it coming up to the kid. And now that I see Brian and the size, that must be terrifying for this guy. Terrifying.
Yeah, he was shaking. It was tough.
I thought I was intimidating coming up to people. Like, oh.
Man.
but it's like, so he deals with that.
Yeah.
He goes through it, and months go by, weeks go by, years go by, whatever. He tells a story to Alfredo and I, who still have really young girls, and him and I were afterwards. We're like, bro. Is that what's gonna be like?
I would have punched that kid.
I would have slashed. I would have slashed the rest of his tires.
Yeah.
But he went through that, so we can go back and kind of teach us, rescue the beauty in a sense, to teach us what. Hey, this is what you guys have to look forward to.
Yeah.
Do you think they're hard now at 2, 3, 4, 5? Wait till they're 15.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wait till they think they're hard.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
God.
Exactly. Man, but that's kind of like that bunker, right? The bunker, it signifies, or the significance of it is that place of protection, like you guys were already saying, right? And everybody is seeking that. So our adventure kind of plays into going about offering somebody else that level of protection that they might be lacking. Right. So they say, and I asked a group of men this not that long ago. So do you all have like a spiritual mentor? Like they say you should find somebody that is older than you, that has more knowledge, in whatever it is that you might be trying to do, to go about mentoring you. But then you find somebody that's younger than you to go about mentoring, to kind of bring them up to your level type deal. Then there's always like this push and pull of information, and then I guess it shows like if you truly mastered whatever your craft is, right? So in the space where Alfredo, being the mechanic that he is, like if he hasn't mastered this one thing, but he seeks out that mentor that can go about teaching him how to do it, and then now you want to get into it, and hey man, I struggled with this, but here's all this information. That way you don't have to go through the same thing that I did.
Yeah.
That's going to pay dividends not only for you, but for the company writ large, so on and so forth.
Yeah, 100%.
So having those kind of people in your life is invaluable. But I don't know if I actually have one.
That's so good, man. One of my mentors, he calls it like the relationship triangle. And he says you need a Timothy, you need a Barnabas, and I want to say Paul. And you need a Timothy to mentor. You need a Barnabas to be your friend, just like a confidant who's going to do life with you. And you need a Paul to be your mentor that speaks down to you. Those are the 3 relationships every man needs in his life. Someone he can you said it perfectly. Someone to mentor, someone that's teaching you, pouring into you, and then someone you can do life with. Now, you mentioned Fredo, and I actually had this conversation with him yesterday. I look at Alfredo not just as a friend, but also I kind of look at him as a spiritual mentor. He may not accept that, but I look at him as a spiritual mentor. Because, like, I literally ask him, like, he's like my Google in terms of like Bible stuff. Like, I'm like, hey, what's this? What does it mean? What does this mean? Hey, is this bad? Like, literally, I just ask him straight up like that. Yesterday, I had a question for him, like, hey, should I be reading this book or should I be reading the Bible? Tell me, just really quick. I literally asked him, hey, I need a discipleship moment. You need to tell me just straight up.
Yeah.
He's like, I would do this, and that. I'm like, all right, cool, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So I guess going off of that, like when you are reading, say, the Bible, I guess for me, at times, especially depending on the translation and such, stuff gets lost in translation, right? Because every time that I read the Bible, I take something away from it, even though it might be the same exact verse. Like if I'm going through something mentally, I read this verse and it says, don't get into a fight today, whatever. It's like, man, damn it. Maybe not today, but tomorrow.
Where's the verse that says whoop his ass?
But I take that away from it, in that period. And then I read the same verse tomorrow, and now I'm in a jovial mood. I'm not supposed to be fighting, period, type deal. So you have that experience, but then you go and you read in a different book, and then it actually expounds upon, that thought. That actually makes a lot more sense. So I think that we do have to have that supplemental reading. And I really only recently got into enjoying reading, man. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Same.
I used to hate reading.
Same.
Yeah,
I used to hate
because it
reading.
was forced. Maybe because it was forced.
Yes.
Like, people tell you like, oh, you have to read Charlotte's Web. Oh, damn it.
Charlotte's Web. Damn spider.
Who is Maury and why do I have to spend Tuesdays with him?
But up until you actually find the thing that you're passionate about, like I love jujitsu now, man.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I love it. Maybe it's just being able to exert yourself on somebody else, and then having somebody
A battle
else's
to
will.
fight.
Exactly, yeah, man. But I could literally watch that stuff all day. So YouTube, there's like this 23-year-old phenom, like I think that he's like one of the youngest people to go about getting a black belt. The dude has won in like 9 world tournaments.
Dang.
Yeah, man. This is against like older people and such. So people that
Is
have
he
been doing
Brazilian?
nah.
Wow.
I forget what his last name is, but he's phenomenal, man.
I say that because it's just, I asked that because it's just in their culture. Like,
yeah.
everybody's doing jiu-jitsu up in Brazil. Like,
Yeah,
it's just,
man.
you grow up
Yeah.
putting people in, like, kimuras and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
In
man.
preschool.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. But this kid, he took the time out to actually go out mastering his craft, and he's 23 years old, right? They're calling him, well, they're saying that he's going to be one of the GOATs for the sport.
I wonder who this is.
I ended up having to look in my dang phone, man. I don't want to take up too much time, but man, he at 23, he's already won 9 worlds tournaments.
Wow.
And
That's
this is
impressive.
going against
That's
people
very
that have been
impressive.
doing the sport for
Against
over
grown
10
men.
years. Yeah, man.
He hasn't even fully developed physically.
Exactly.
At 23, you're not
Yeah.
even fully,
But him and his sister, right? So they found the passion, and then they've done everything to go about improving. So they were able to spot the weaknesses in their game, because the first time that he went to a Worlds tournament, he lost, right? And then he said, "Man, I never want to feel like that again." He started getting into his mind after he had won the first one. People actually booed him at his second one, just
Why?
because I'm not sure. I want to say it was because he uses a very similar move to go about winning majority of his Worlds tournaments. Where
If it works, it works.
Exactly.
Right. That's I hate people
he's
that-
mastered
that-
like this one move, and like it's extremely hard to get out of. But they were cheering for the other guy, and when he had lost, the kid, like I think he was like maybe 19 at this point, he stood up and he was like triumphant. But people were cheering against him, and it's like, why are you guys booing me? Because he didn't have like any animosity toward the other person or whatever, but
That's kind of weird.
it was, man, 19-year-old kid,
Yeah, like why are you booing the winner? Like if he won fair and square, if he did nothing wrong.
I mean,
Exactly.
you're a grown ass adult. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like you're in the stands and you're booing a kid.
yeah,
that's interesting.
I could understand if he was like there's a young basketball star. Forgot his name. Julian Newman.
No.
Dude's sick. Got handles for days.
Yeah.
But he talks a lot of trash, has a horrible attitude.
Yeah,
At
so
least
if you're
from
not a
these previous-
sportsman-
right? If you're not a
Yeah.
sportsman, I could understand that. But if you're like I'm imagining this like meek, humble kid,
oh yeah,
and he's
man.
getting booed like that. That sucks. That
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah,
Again, as long as everything was legal, if it was kosher, then there's no reason to boo the kid.
Exactly.
Now, if he cheated, if he like flicked him in the balls real quick,
Exactly.
and then he could have been a rear naked choke. All right, cool.
I
That
think
makes sense.
that kind of plays into how being a fan in athletics, right, or in professional sports. Like, how many people love LeBron and don't love LeBron? Like people will hate because you're doing well, or people will, not care. I was telling Angela, one of my friends is so ahead of his time with wisdom. When we were younger, he said he had a lot of haters when he was younger, and he looked at me. He's like, Jason, haters means that you're doing, or having haters means you're doing something right. And I'm like, it's very interesting. I was in my 20s. Now that I see that, it's this hatred for someone doing well, which is essentially what this younger jiu-jitsu champion is, that's what he's going through, right? These people are just
The
envy and the hate, the jealousy.
The jealousy, yeah.
And
It's such a dangerous thing, jealousy and envy, And I think that's why God speaks out against it so much. Because you should be resourceful with what you have. Of course. And if you're not unhappy with what you have, seek guidance. Why are you there? Try and do better. You know what I mean? But yeah, just to sit there and marinate in those emotions, those negative feelings, it just causes for negative actions,
Man, but just the fact that I think that everybody experiences that, especially when you're trying to be a change maker, because people hate change. They will resist everything, that you try to do, even if it sounds better. You know,
even if it is better.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Just
Especially for
Yeah.
the person who is like the it guy or the
Exactly.
the person in control
needs
and
to change.
power. No, that
Exactly.
like let's say they're the ones running the show. Right?
Oh,
But
I
something
see,
needs
I
to
see, I
change.
see.
They're really the ones going to fight you a little bit.
because now they might be losing their spot. You know, so they're going to resist that change as much as possible.